Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anza Saqib. I welcome you all to yet another episode of the Digital Roundtable on behalf of CxO Global. CxO Global Forum is a knowledge sharing platform of all C-levels across Pakistan and the globe. We take initiatives to contribute to the knowledge economy of Pakistan and the world. We also incorporate a networking model with all thought leaders and influencers who are the movers and shakers of the corporate playing field within Pakistan and the world. So without further ado, let me introduce a very interesting panel for this digital roundtable conference. But before I start that, let me tell you a little more about what our topic is for the day. We're going to be talking about the growth mindset, which are the evolving strategies during the pandemic. This past year has resulted in heavy losses for most businesses. For some businesses, it's been an opportunity like none other, and their sales have skyrocketed. Either way, one thing that has been common has been that there's been a learning curve, and there are a lot of practices and processes that we adapted or did some firefighting across the board during the pandemic. Which is why, for this reason, we decided that our second roundtable conference, the second digital roundtable, should be about how do we stay agile, how do we keep evolving, how do we still keep growing despite of the pandemic. Joining us today is our esteemed panel of guests. We've got Mr. Hasan Zuberi, who's the product manager for the Middle East and Africa region for EliteVAD. We've got Ghazanfar Iqbal Sahab, who's the country head corporate sales at Careem. We've got Mr. Arif Manzoor, who's a senior vice president of sales and pre-sales at MEP Solutions. And then we've got Mr. Salahuddin Jabad, solution architect at Vodafone, Ireland. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. I'm going to start with Mr. Ghazanfar Iqbal. So, हमारे पास, like I said, कि past year has been very, very taxing on us, emotionally, physically, business-wise. We've all had to constantly adapt. How do you think, because you are a hardcore sales guy, so सर ये आपने growth mindset को कैसे बरकरार रखा है?
Thank you very much, Anza, for inviting me once again on CxO Global Forum. And it's amazing to see what you guys are doing. And with regards to the growth mindset, yeah, I mean, I will start off from failures. So one of the things that we at Careem do, that we accept failures. We think failures can give us some data that we can capitalize on. And during the pandemic, actually, we evolved a lot. Being a tech company, we have this coming quite easily because we are not from a conventional business model. If you compare us, we have our processes which we can easily, like you said earlier, that we can go into the agile philosophy and change them as the business evolves as well. So during the lockdown, the ride-hailing industry was not working. We were not generating any revenue whatsoever for a few months when Pakistan was completely shut down. But there were other verticals that we started with. We started focusing on deliveries. We started focusing on food. And the plan of our super app accelerated as well. Initially, we were planning it to launch later in 2021, but because of the pandemic, we accelerated that as well. Our software engineering team was on board on that. In terms of corporate sales, I saw a lot of change as well. I would like to share my experience that prior to COVID, we had quite a lot of tough time to onboard corporate companies on Careem for Business platform, which is providing premium ride-hailing services to corporate companies. But after the pandemic, obviously, there were a lot of hits on the revenue side, and these businesses had to mitigate their cost. And they did that initially through different experimentations. One of them was, to let go of their fleet, because fleet is a huge cost for everybody across the board. So, I mean, it comes in different shapes and sizes. I mean, there are vehicles, small, big, there are drivers, there is parking space, there is maintenance costs. So all of that. So what happened? These companies started approaching us for the Careem for Business platform. So for us, obviously, there has been a great learning. There has been few failures as well across the journey, and there has been some good amount of business volume that we actually logged in as well. In terms of on the personal side, if I talk about my career as well, I have been through quite a lot of ups and downs. I see that change is a constant, even if you see it on the universal perspective, that we are always moving, in the universe. So there is a change. That change is constantly happening. If you are stuck around in just one place, and in my experience, maybe other would agree or disagree, if you are stuck around even in one company, I think there isn't much change happening, there isn't much growth happening. You need to go out there, you need to experiment as well. I mean, you can give an example of a person who has lived his whole life in Pakistan, and then there's a person who has actually moved into 15 and 20 countries. I think the person that moved to 15 and 20 countries has more exposure, more connections, more network, more learning, and then obviously resulting in more growth as well. So yeah, I mean, focus on change, focus on embracing failures, and that will lead you to a growth mindset where you will not stop experimenting and you will always be ahead of the pack.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. You always start with such positivity. Jawad Saab, we haven't spoken to you. I haven't spoken to you on the CxO Forum platform, but I know you're someone very, very inspiring, and Vodafone is such a big brand name. So I would like to hear your perspective as well, because preconceived notion ये होता है कि generally इतने बड़े brands को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ा pandemic से. So I would like
Thanks,
to hear your thoughts.
yeah, thanks, Anza, and thanks everyone. This is as Anza mentioned, this is the first time I'm joining you guys, and you guys doing again a great job combining things together. Not only look nationally, it's internationally. And thanks for giving me opportunity to speak, because when you are outside your country, you kind of more connected rather than you are inside. Well, I wouldn't claim it, but I feel like when I was there. So just before answering your question, just a little background, because I think I've joined first time here. So my name is Salahuddin Jawad. I'm working as a Vodafone Ireland. So I came in Ireland 7-8 years ago. Same ambitions, same visions, which mostly people has, like, okay, go and just explore new markets, explore new multiple countries, as Ghazanfar said, like to get more challenges in your life, and finance is also one of the factors sometimes happen. So during my all tenure and why now I'm working with Vodafone, and this pandemic thing has happened. As parallel, I'm also a lecturer in technology college, Technology University Dublin, as a cybersecurity. So in what I have seen in past year, the world has changed also. Pakistan has a different perspective. In Europe, it's complete change. We are still in 100% lockdown because we are not allowed to meet anyone and this stuff. But on the other hand, company-wise, we are 100% productive. Some industries, as you mentioned, well, crisis bring opportunities as well, but it's not for all. So fortunately, the industry I belong, telco, is get more boom rather than airline industries or the other industry which were more affected with this pandemic. So I believe, and what I see as of, because the infrastructure was there, so we survived well in Ireland. It's things are, the life is keep going on. So I see it in the 2-3 ways, and the CEOs or the Vodafone, the bigger companies, they keep sending the video messages and the emails to keep the people engaged. So, and the message is very clear, like be present, be stay professional, maintain structure between your home life and I didn't see my office since an year now. And now they have realized, and officially we got the email like post-COVID, you are not supposed to be coming to office for 70%, you're working from home. And this thing is like some industries are definitely, and I believe personally, post-COVID situation as of current now and for future, I think it will be changed. Corporate had understand there is no travel needed in the corporate perspective, so airline will not be like the way it was for hospitality industries. Are definitely hotter hotels and everything will be different, and they cope up very well. I've seen more connected because they are. It's completely depend on leadership, how the leadership is taking it, things, handling this, and it's not coming the leadership from the company. It's the leadership from home as well, because we have learned so many things when we are locked down at home, and I am the leader of my home as well. So it's the same thing. Um, Teach or lead people, kids, wife, everyone in your family, and with the corporate, whoever you are, whoever the leader in your corporate culture as well, how you are leading it, how, and then you, it's a new thing. I never read books except the technical books, which I had to, which change the perspective, and people are starting bringing the hobbies which they left couple of many years back, and they bringing start painting or whatever they were doing. So um, as of Vodafone or the multinational companies in Ireland with the lockdown or 100% lockdown, things are going booming, increasing because they are well-established countries or they are supporting people who are jobless and stuff. So that is different. I was in Pakistan, so in fact, just to tell you, like 2 months ago, and I take the opportunity to working from home rather than in Ireland. Let's go to Pakistan and then work from there. I bit struggle because of the infrastructure perspective, internet. So I have a primary internet and the backup internet and the tertiary internet, the light and everything. But I think people are so immune in Pakistan, like we know what is the backup, and we are very much quickly light on UPS generator. This time I have seen another thing. There was no gas in December, so I was in Karachi, and quickly people has a cylinder there. So we are very much cope with the pandemics. Like we quickly come up with a workaround. I know there are so many struggling. The last thing which I want to comment here is last week we had a session with the Pakistan embassy here in Ireland, and we want to cope up with to involve the embassy and what we are doing here. I'm doing so many things here, but definitely it's not the right time as well. But just to bring the more remittance and business back to the Pakistan from the resources or the people or the profession who are working here, we are more actively and more connected as well, and we want to work together. And with this global thing, it's not matter wherever you are, you can be participate anywhere. Thanks,
Thank
Anza,
you
for
so
sorry
much.
for keeping it long.
No, no, that's great. That's the reason we're here. These digital roundtable conferences, the purpose for them is just to virtually sit together and share ideas. Because when we from different industries share ideas, some great things happen. Just like with CxO Global, yesterday we organized this amazing conference, little intellectual discourse on the Special Technology Zones Authority, and we had some lovely speakers. For those of you who couldn't join, please live stream it later on. We've got our streams available, but we signed an MOU as well with Careem. So we'll be telling you more about it. But speaking of evolving strategies, Hasan Zuberi Saab, you've also been away from Pakistan, very well connected to Pakistan. And post-pandemic, even though you're working in technology as well, and a lot of times people think कि इस सेक्टर में तो जी फर्क नहीं पड़ा होगा या आपने कोई अपनी आपको तो कुछ एवोल्यूशन करनी नहीं पड़ी होगी. So how did things work differently for you?
Oh, I mean, you can't say as per the country. I mean, for to be very honest, Pakistan has given a very good response. I mean, I was hearing with Ghazanfar Saab and Javed Saab what they were saying, and I mean, like our response to COVID, especially for me because I sit here at the place in peak pandemic. I mean, we did couple of installations and kind of things which were not done previously. See, because like with my perspective, I work across 11 different locations sitting in Dubai. Pakistan is one of them. I mean, we completed couple of, rather three large banks were under our POCs in the peak lockdown period, which if I calculate from June till October, this whole year pass. And in the penal lockdown, I was even because, like, to be very honest, we were already in the phase which didn't affect us much for the pandemic, because for the pandemic people had to go back home and then start working from home. Most of us, our teams or our people or the people who we work with or our own team, we either work remotely, either in the office or out of the office. We are always remote on these situations. So again, like I mean, if Ghazanfar have said, or Javid Bhai was saying also, that it's a kind of transformation. Go getting stuff. Like the saying goes, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So I mean, this is what it is, that you need the. I think George Bernard Shaw sometimes quoted that it's the vigilance is the key to success. If you're vigilant, and if you know, obviously you won't know the danger coming, but yes, then you can adjust yourself and quickly decide what you do. Like, I've been giving examples, but yes, we were hit also, things slowed down, but then we had tools, and we knew how to use those tools also. We knew what measures or how to adjust and how to quickly, get used of the situation. Because Pakistan is one of the primary territories I work with sitting here, and still a couple of our Middle Eastern countries are in lockdown. But things are they slowed down. Yes, a couple of deals, because I'm proactively into sales and consultations. Things slowed down, but yes, it was a transformation process, a great learning, that if something again of some such sort of again something happens of that sort, then you should be ready for it. Either you should be, first educated for it, ready for it, and then don't let it happen again. That's what we felt, and I guess it was again something greatly to learn from this year.
Absolutely. One of the biggest learning experiences for anyone has been also how to create the right kind of contingencies. Arif Manzoor Sahab, again, I'm going to ask you the same question. आपके लिए क्या evolution थी? Because we know that your industry is very different from, let's say, Vodafone or Careem or EliteVAD, because you people are providing turnkey solutions, जहाँ literally आप construction से लेके और smart homes भी automate कर रहे हैं. So how was the evolution for you? Because it's very, very different, your scope of work.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Anza. Yeah, it was quite difficult for us. जैसे मैंने पहले भी मेरे ख्याल पिछले राउंड में भी मैंने ये चीज़ हाईलाइट की थी कि although this thing was around, COVID was around, I think from end of 2019, but Pakistan, in the way we work, it's a little bit different. Like it was around, but we never prepared for it. But end of March and April, it was very tough time for us. Definitely, we need to strategize ourselves. It was not the time कि आप बस खामोशी से बैठ जाएं and see कि when this will pass. What we did, what was more challenging for us and for definitely for all Pakistan based companies, the organization, was allowing the people to work from home. So it was very much difficult for the managers to manage the teams remotely, because most of the time people are prone to work in Pakistan in offices. So first of all, that was an evolving thing for us, for all the leaders to manage their team remotely. And then definitely, to keep the second biggest challenge was to retain the team and to keep the team motivated. So communication was a very important thing, that it starts from the top, and it should starting from the top management, and should trickle down to the lower or even to your working staff as well. So to keep them motivated, just like Jawad said and Hasan said about this thing, that we need to communicate, and doing communication, sending video messages to all your staff, it keeps them motivated. Another thing was regarding the remote project management. So that was and again a very different strategy for us to deploy to run our projects remotely. For some time, in the construction industry, there was a time when we need to stop the work, but soon, with the support of the government and the policies they implemented, it helped us, to strategically, align our resources to implement whatever was left and whatever was we were doing. It was, kind of creating a digital twin of our business plan, whatever we were doing. So we just created a digital twin of that thing, and then things started moving on. What I see is, like, technology will become a major part of the strategy, or whatever strategy that you are going to make for future, or your business plan. Technology will become the main part of it, knowing that in Pakistan there are many sectors that deploy different kind of solutions, but they never, we don't follow them ethically. But now I think after this COVID period, people will definitely adapt for the technology that was missing. And during that COVID period, people started using video conferencing. They started to have trust on people to work remotely, and so many things that happened during this thing. So it is no longer about the ROI discussion, whether we need to implement certain set of solutions or technology. I believe it's more of how we mitigate the risk, how we protect our employees, and how and we cater their safety. How the built environment is becoming critical, ensuring that the resilience factors of sustainability and safety, security, and wellness. This has become the core way that people that the great to operate our businesses actually. So in COVID-19, we realized that people are the key. People are always the key, but the health and their
Safety.
their safety is a key element there as well. So this is my take on this.
Absolutely, sir. You raised some very pertinent points. One of those being that we also need to focus on our people and not just the ROI. You talked about motivation and how to keep your employees motivated. Ghazanfar Saab, I'd like to ask you because you as a company were already used to working remotely and incorporating a lot of technologies. So in this scenario, how challenging was it to keep your staff motivated?
Yeah, I mean, when Arif was talking about team motivation, I was actually jotting down a few points as well. So, I mean, in terms of team motivation, yeah, it's a real big challenge. And we actually announced during the pandemic that we are going remote first, that we will basically become work from home company forever, which we have become. So for us, especially on the sales side, we have to do these external meetings with external stakeholders. And I mean, during the pandemic, obviously, we try to do them on Zoom, but sometimes our clients ask us to come in person as well. So that's a real big challenge. We do prioritize that we connect remotely, but obviously, if it's not possible, then we take all the necessary precautions and go and connect with them. But in terms of team motivation, I would say that one thing that I did with my team initially was that we started having these daily huddles on Zoom. It's like a 15-minute huddle that we do every day, and we just bounce off ideas and share the updates with regards to what our pipeline has, what our prospects are, what sort of companies we are approaching, and if they are facing any challenges, they can let me know, and I will resolve them for that. And then we have this weekly review where we go through the whole week. And on Friday, we do this happy hour session, which is obviously remote as well. So it's 1 hour happy hour session that we do around 4:30 to 5:30 Pakistan time. And everybody has their videos on. And we just don't talk about work. I mean, we just talk about ourselves. We talk about our personal lives, any challenges, anything at all. Even if somebody is applying somewhere, I mean, they can talk about that as well. And I mean, I'm very much open about that. I help people with tweaking their resume. I mean, if they want me to push at somewhere, I do that as well. And I think that sort of a personal connection creates a bond that stays for much longer. And you also need to give your team, your colleagues, the ownership. So one of the values of Careem is being an owner, and ownership means that they are out there, they have the 100% in taking the decisions that they want to take, and as a leader, you need to just stay there at their back, and they would know that if something goes wrong, your leader is there, they are going to support you, and that is all that you need. And in my prior experience in other companies in telcos as well, all the teammates that I have, all the colleagues that do report it to me, I always gave them the freedom. I always give them to explore and go out there, because at the core, if you are a leader and you're not making leaders out of your team, you're not doing justice to your job. I mean, that is your job, because you are a people manager. You have to manage your people. I mean, if I go out there and I start hunting for sales and I don't let them do that, then I mean, that doesn't justify my role. So I think it's a mix of different things and experimentation that you do, which revolves around being there for them on a personal level, and obviously on a professional level as well. That keeps your team motivated, and it makes your job actually easier as well. I mean, quite frankly, you're not doing much. You're just making high level strategy, and your people are executing that strategy. So
Absolutely.
it's a perfect thing, and I think others can tell more about it.
That's lovely. Hasan, Zuberi साहब आपकी तरफ आएंगे पहले. Sir, how did you feel like you became a better leader? Since how did you manage people differently during this pandemic?
And again, like if I may be repetitive, but see, I have a couple of teams, if not reporting, but our structure is so, we're not a very large team, but the work we do or whatever we do on a daily basis is very much interconnected. I mean, the review calls, which Ghazanfar I was mentioning, and all others, review calls, we have so much of review calls, and so much we do, like these Zooms and WebExes and all those things are not new to any one of us. We have so much of, sometimes, I mean, it might sound funny that we don't lose motivation because we don't get the time of losing it. So much of, interactions and everything, because some things are very complex. Like, I'll tell you that there was one example where we were doing something. If I call out the names, that one team was in Egypt, one team was in France, and we were completing an installation in Saudi Arabia, sitting in Dubai. So you can well understand such kind of complex things when we do. So it's not about motivation. It's about that, yes, you're committed. And since I said that we have a lot of technology professionals within us, but for me is, and like our structure is also so closed, our CEO is very much involved. So nothing of that sort happened to us. Yes, I mean, the demotivation was because of, that kind of psychological effect that you're just locked inside. You cannot, stay so much of like 8, 10, 12 hours of internet consumption and always being on tools, and it goes very dry. So, I mean, it's a fact that it goes very dry sometimes. But yet then each one of our team members, or each one of us, is so much connected and has so much on hands that that's the motivation. I mean, something new to do. Plus, we had some, again, outward initiatives that kept us on hand and kept us ready for all the things. So that was the motivation. I mean, growing. I mean, we had to grow. That was not actually growth. That was a survival. First of the first task was to retain it and then push it forward and come out of it, and we did. So, and now we are poised to grow for the other one. So that is what, again, like if Ghazanfar Saab's strategy which he mentioned, the exercises, but on our part, it's the kind of continuous communication, like all the colleagues are also saying, communication is the key. Yeah, I mean, connected to each other and a couple of other things, and if the flow goes on, then I don't think so there'll be much trouble in keeping the pace up.
Absolutely. Golden words, Hasan Saab. Communication is key, and we should keep the communication going, which is why we at CxO Global Forum make these efforts to try and connect all of you and keep you communicating. Jawad Saab, speaking of communication, Vodafone, there's, no introduction. How did communication change for for you within the business? And did your conversations with the other co-workers change during the pandemic?
Thanks, Anza. So I think a couple of talking we are going through. One is self motivation, and back to your question again. So with the Vodafone, the communication it was always there, but we are more connected in persons. But that has changed, and now we move to the virtual world. Mobile communication is was stay there. What we have seen as a number of calls were used to be a few seconds when we check the graphs in terms of like okay, come to the meeting, okay, I'm coming, I'm going. This type of conversation normally happen within, so communication was less than 20-30 seconds before pandemic, and now it leads you up to the number of minutes calls were increase and increase. So that was we have seen the other side, that we have seen the bigger draw down there for the roaming calls. Roaming has drastically down because of the movement, and there was over 2 or 3% revenue was focused on that. So that is the high level, but definitely we have moved to the Microsoft Teams and other software and the video conferencing, which definitely not possible on the mobile devices. So that has taken over the bigger chunk of it. So the data requirement, as Vodafone here is providing the broadband and the other internet services, that has gone increase as well. So that we have seen a bigger thing. And just to add on the discussion, what we were discussing about the self motivation, while I was in Pakistan, what was the difference I have seen and feel that has changed definitely with the pandemic. If you are there, I hope, then manager is there, then you have to be there. And if the manager here, you can't leave the office. That kind of mindset, the mindset was there. Definitely it has changed. It's been 7-8 years working there, but I'm closely connected. People are, the normal trend is the people are working late hours. They are going, okay, जाने का time है, वापस आने का नहीं है. It was there. With the pandemic, people have realized different things. What I have learned here, and I pass on to the people who are leaders who are here or whoever are listening to me, what I have learned here is the self-manager concept. When I came here, my manager was not here. She's never here. And then I have to be responsible on my own job. Why and how? That is the automation they have created and put it across. The manager should not be seeing all the time you, but you are your self-manager. At the end of the day, you have to fill these specific things, and that will be evaluate yourself. After a week, when you will submitting your report, you need to say something, okay, I have done something. And if you don't, then you need to consider like, okay, when people are not calling you in trouble, then you are in trouble. So that is the main concept here. It's completely, you need to be more creative or whatever the way you need to present your job. So you need to be helpful, and you need to make yourself like people need you. And that's the main thing, your manager need you. So that is the one thing which increase your self-motivation as well as your what do you call self-management as well, because micromanagement thing doesn't make you more creative, or you can't be entrepreneur if somebody is doing the micromanagement of on yourself. And definitely that has changed with the pandemic in Pakistan as well. People are doing it on your own. And the second thing which I want to pass the message to the leaders, like pass the ownership to the staff. That is the main thing. Give them opportunities and give them rewards, incentives. If they are working late, ask them, get involved in a personal level as well, like how's the family and everything. My manager every month have one-to-one meeting. One-to-one session is very important, which I feel like only happen in Pakistan sometime either quarterly or when the review of the salary appraisal is happening, and then you get a chance to have a one-to-one. So these are the key things which motivate individuals and definitely grow company. And that is what I have seen in Europe. That is the type of culture, and they are more. So if there is no harm to learn things from here, which we are not adopting, it's a very good thing. And so we can pick what is good, and we can leave what we don't think we. So that these are my my key points here for the team and for everyone who is listening.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jawad Sahab. Arif, Manzoor Sahab, one of the things that were common during this pandemic and for one of the evolving strategies was that there was continuous development, there was learning. Like, for example, I've seen a lot of even C levels who took up new courses or who set forward to learn a new skill. What did you do on an individual level, and are there any particular courses that you encourage your team members to take?
Uh, well, during this COVID situation, during this pandemic, after the first month, apart from having all the communication, and having discussions with the employees and your teammates, uh, what we did was to make them learn further. Like, and in this thing, our manufacturers, they were really supportive, and they offered us courses. I mean, the courses, the paid courses. So those were paid certifications. So they were back-to-back certifications, done by my team. And I organized all those trainings for them, and I'm very much thankful to all those manufacturers who did that for us. So during the pandemic, uh, the employee, if employee is working somewhere, he gets paid for following some KPIs and giving some output. So during this pandemic, there was, people were sitting at home. Everybody knows they cannot go out. So how we can how we can fill that gap, and how we can pay them, how we can justify their salaries. So to make them that is the thing we did. We make them learn, and we made them learn. Trainings goes on every day. There was schedule of weekly. There was 1 day break, and then there was another training. So and then there was some exams as well. So all they did, they keep on, keep on learning, and they keep on doing the certifications. And at the end of the day, I was pretty much happy that we utilized this time to, make our team certified and learn more. During that time, what I did for myself, I took on many courses, as I told you during my interview as well, that I did around 50 plus certifications on different platforms. And more of those were like, how to manage your teams remotely, how to keep them motivated, what primary role of a leadership during these kind of pandemic period, what kind of roles should they play. So it was more about my intellectual and my leadership skills rather than having technical certifications, because I have done all those things in my past experience. But at this point in time, I wanted to be available more for my team, and to how to keep them motivated. So I did my certifications, I did my learning from different platforms, and I immediately started to implement that. And I took this opportunity of having when COVID was around. So I implemented all those things that I've learned on these platforms. So that was the main thing, that kept me motivated as well. And I shared all my, almost all my certifications with my team as well. That okay, see what this is what I'm doing. If you want, you can go down these tracks, but keeping in view that the relevant trainings that they want to do. So this helped me to to keep my to how to how to work more efficiently, how to get more out of your resources. So all these trainings really helped me out.
Right. Thank you for sharing your opinion, sir. Ghazanfar Saab, a lot of times people, they did learn quite a bit. In your company, in particular, were you as encouraging towards your staff? And which courses or skill did you pick up? Did you learn to play the guitar, or was there a new skill that you acquired?
I mean, Jawad certainly plays guitar. I mean, there's
I
one in
know
the
we
back.
were just
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of the learning on our side, first I would like to answer one of the things Jawad was mentioning with regards to the one-on-one sessions. So we do have one-on-one sessions on monthly basis, and they are actually mandatory. They happen every month, and they are recorded in this platform called Culture App. So I mean, more and more companies are moving from quarterly or annual one-on-ones to monthly. one-on-ones. In terms of the learning, I would say on my level, I mean, I'm always there out with this mindset that we are talking about, the growth mindset, and I'm open to meeting with people, having these intellectual conversations, and experimenting and seeing what's out there. So I'm right now part of a Scout investment program. There is a Japanese-based venture capitalist firm. There, I applied in that, and the program is starting in March. Because I had worked with the startups, I had my own startup. So now I want to experiment the VC space. Actually, what happens at the VC space, how they gauge which startups to invest in, how they evaluate these startups, what is valuation, how they calculate that, and all of that. So obviously, I mean, that's something really interesting for me. So I applied and I got selected. So that's something that I'm doing. There is a professional fellowship program by the US State Department that I have actually started. I had a couple of sessions remotely. Yesterday, I met with a very wonderful person who actually has a ride-hailing company in Oklahoma, which is focusing on the health sector. So, I mean, we bounced off a few ideas as well. So that's really fruitful. And then obviously I actually had a YouTube channel by the name Ghazanfar. So I used to have certain topics that I used to talk about and upload over there. And I stopped doing that, but now I restarted that as well. And I'm doing one-on-one sessions with different industry experts. So, and then I got a taste of camping as well. Living in Karachi, I wanted to explore
Wow.
the southern side, the Balochistan side. I went on camping to the remotest beaches. We started cycling as well. And actually, we made a group inside Careem that does cycling on Saturdays and Sundays by the name Yalla Biking. So that's really interesting. That keeps us healthy. That also keeps us connected. On the organizational level, we have an internal platform that we started by the name Careem College, where we have these external trainings that are there for employees. Managers can actually, recommend the trainings to their colleagues as well. That these are the trainings that you need to do, or you can explore them. And then we have a Learning Champions platform as well, which is a voluntarily basis platform where people that are passionate about learning, they got together. I am part of that team as well. And what we do is that we go out there to the Kareemers and we see their expertise and we tell them that why don't you do a session on Zoom? So we make all these posters and graphics and do these communication through our internal channels, Slack primarily, and then these leaders, these colleagues do these sessions, and then we go out there and we sort of ask the external trainers as well in the industry as well with topics and subjects we know that they are good at, and we ask them that if they can come on board and do these sessions internally for creamers as well. We are actually having one with regards to this particular topic that we are talking about today as well from a Googler happening on 25th. So I mean, us learning is actually embedded in our culture. I mean, we are always learning. And failures and learning, they go side by side for me as well as for Careem. So we are super open to that. And one thing I really love about the Learning Champion platform is that, I mean, we go out there, we ask these trainers that we are not going to pay them because, I mean, it's like a voluntary basis sort of a work, and they are really passionate about they don't ask for money or anything. I mean, they just want to share their learnings, and that is super helpful and super inspiring as well.
Great, such perfectly summed up. I know one person, you have definitely made the most out of the pandemic. So there's been learning, there's been travel, there's been a lot that's been going on. So,
Yeah,
mashallah. Hassan Zuberi Sab, you are someone that I know is very, very fond of reading because I keep, you keep sharing articles as well. So, what was, some learning that came for you during the pandemic, and how did you pass it on to the other co-workers?
No, personally, Anza, because again, it's too much of our jobs on our head. So, I mean, if we don't upgrade ourselves, if we don't, learn or adapt or be vigilant to the information around, and luckily, the kind of vendors we had gave us a lot of support for our teams also. We upgraded our teams, and personally, I completed 3 certifications for 3 different technologies because there are certain levels required for it to even for the job and for the market requirement. So I mean, it was part of it. I wish I could have the liberty like Ghazanfar Bhai had, here, because again, I mean, the place where I live in the temperature in June goes to about 49 degrees also. So I mean, I cannot think of cycling or camping, but I mean, it's just I wish I mean, I'm a Karachiite. I know how pleasant the weather can be and around. But coming back to the subject, yes, we passed it on to the teams because different certifications and different kind of upgradations. It's more related to work. Has sometimes they take about 3 months or even 4 months for your time to complete. Also, there are modules and a couple of things around. So personally, I did that. I mean, I had time and a couple of other readings or a couple of things which can be done, which you normally don't get the time of. So that was it. Not much, but yes, I mean, still, I mean, and still going on. It should be going on, actually, always.
Great. Sir, any particular course that you would advise people, and especially, the younger lot here watching, any good website that you'd like to suggest or any platform?
Well, personally, I mean, we pass on there are a couple, but then I can post them lately. There is Coursera, I mean, which does a lot of. Again, there are a couple of Google courses on that. Google itself is a big platform, and then there is BrightTalk also. On that, if you attend even the sessions and all that, you get free. I mean, you get an attendance certificate. And then, but Coursera and there are two more. I will check on them, and I'm just missing one because that has very less
Me?
charge. Hmm?
Are you talking about Udemy?
Udemy, yeah. I almost forgot the name. I actually have done a couple of courses, but again, you can't keep track of them on fingers. But yeah, Udemy, Coursera, and this BrightTalk also, because we connect to them. My vendors, my technology vendors, do a lot of sessions on them. So these are
Okay.
the three ones which you can keep a tap of, because obviously, on not all technology skills are basically these technical ones are without charge. They sometimes are very heavily cost-wise. They're very heavy, especially when you have to pay in dollars. People in Pakistan will incur a very heavy cost. So I won't recommend anything which I don't do personally myself. But yes, for the forum, I can keep something intact, and people who would like to be a part of it, I can arrange things for all our members. And their, I mean, they
Very
can.
kind of you, sir. Very
Yeah,
kind of you.
sure.
Thank you. We've got a lot of viewers watching as well, and some good comments coming in for all of you. Great initiatives being taken, gentlemen. Great going. In my opinion, trust with your employees is key to success in the digital world. We are moving towards a hybrid way of working post-pandemic in Ireland. And speaking of Ireland, Jawad Saab, we would also like to from you how you improved on your learning processes, what you learned, what you did differently.
Okay,
Besides
thanks,
playing the guitar.
thanks, Anza, and thanks, Ghazanfar. And Ghazanfar, your initiative definitely is very, very good, and especially highlighting the points which has been taken over. So, and I want, and definitely, it should be spread everywhere. So we should spend more time to be like social activities. Definitely, are way key success. And when while maybe your teammate can confirm, like while doing one-to-one session, you get new ideas, and there are so many entrepreneurs in your team, and you don't know until you let them speak. So for me, yes, I did some certification and things, but other than that, I was thinking in a different way, and I take opportunity to take it as an entrepreneurship, label. Like when I was in Pakistan, definitely I was using Careem, and Bikia service was very key service, which was with the traffic and everything used. When I was here in Ireland, I feel like something has happened, and at the night, and I want one thing to be delivered from one place to another, and I don't see there is no service. So that where you have opportunity, then you start thinking over it. So I'm working. Pandemic let me to think over it, and then I'm start working to come up with a service or launch a service to change the perception. Like we from Pakistani background as well, to launch a service which combines the Ikea and couple of things to just launch a service which provide half of our services. If anybody has any skills, can spread across. So again, that makes me, or that feels me like you can think over it and you start doing it. But problem here is like the fear is like for success. The fear is like what will happen if it doesn't work out, and that is that will stop normally whatever thing we want to do. So uh, there was one thing I'm using slang here. Then I was thinking like, nahi yaar, panga to lena hai. So I was just want to do it, and I was talking to my one of my friends saying like, on the phone like, nahi yaar, because in European countries there are so many compliance issues. Like while providing any services, there are so many issues in terms of uh, licenses or legal issues and these type of things. And I say like, okay, let's try to do it, and let's do it. And I was talking to my friend and my son. He's 8. He came to me and say like, "Whoa, Baba, you use a word? What is the meaning of it?" So I was like, "Beta, it is just like पंगा तो बस लेना है and वो तो सब लेते हैं." So then I try to explain him later what I actually mean. So we try in our domain, and sometimes opportunity comes in, or sometimes the use cases comes into your life, and then you may get the opportunity out of it. So I will say all who are listening, certification, self grooming is a very good thing, but also think broader picture rather than just focus on yourself. Think in a different way, like how you can provide and helpful for others, how you can create a services with make example. Because as we have current example with the Careem and so many others, the stuff we start from small things, start from a small group, and then they lead to very very broader way. If you have a vision, you start for it. So आप अकेले ही होते हो, then it will start making your karma मिल जाता है. But you start doing something which is more. It's not. It never has to be unique. You think something when you start it, and at the end maybe it's completely different, but it might be successful. So that is the key message from my side to everyone who is listening. Self grooming, very important. Just also spread the whatever you have. Just pass the message to everyone. Try to figure out, create more entrepreneurs rather than being an entrepreneur. If this is the one of the key message from my side. Thanks.
That's amazing, sir. Thank you so much. And yes, beautifully summed up. We are moving towards our ending messages. A lot of times, you people have such beautiful and insightful things to say. It's very difficult to keep track of time. So I would request you all to please share your ending thoughts. Arif Manzoor sahab, we've learned के एवोल्यूशन जो है ना सिर्फ हमारे फिजिकल रेल में आई है, ना कि हमारे प्रोसेसेस में आई है, बट हमारी थॉट्स में भी आई है पोस्ट पेंडेमिक. एंड वी रियली द माइंडसेट टू ग्रो our no preconceived notions have been challenged. So आपकी क्या last thoughts होंगी?
Again, I would say one thing कि इस कोविड सिचुएशन में, कोई पेंडेमिक सिचुएशन में, वन थिंग दैट आई हैव सीन जो कि मुझे पहले मंथ में नजर नहीं आई थी, बट आफ्टर दैट पीपल स्टार्टेड रियलाइजिंग कि इट्स नॉट जस्ट अस, ठीक है ना, इट्स अबाउट ऑल ऑफ अस नाउ, ठीक है. और उसमें द पीपल अर्लियर पीपल वर बाइंग फॉर देयर ओन सेल्फ एंड देयर फॉर देयर ओन कंजप्शन, and on later time people started to buy for others, and so that was something really amazing to see. And that thing has left something it cannot be changed in near future, that it's not just about us, we have to think about others as well, people who cannot who might have suffered a lot financially, and they might need our help. So people have came a lot on that side, and they have the use of technology to reach to that people. It was amazing, and even sitting at home, you were able to help so many people. I was amazed, and hats off to all those people who created those groups and who made us part of those groups, and who made us realize that it's not just the organization employees or your team, there are so many people living around you that the people जो सफेद पोश होते हैं, white collar people, they cannot, don't come in front, and they need your help. Apart from that, the COVID-19, exactly showed us that, how exactly the organizations gets disrupted. So, usko, matlab, the risks are always around. It's always better that we, छोटे से छोटे risk को भी we should be able to plan that accordingly, and छोटे से छोटे risk को भी उसको minimize करने के लिए या उसको खत्म करने के लिए whatever technology is required, it should be implemented rather than we should wait for that thing to come. So this is my message.
Hasan, your take.
No, I will actually second Arif, and I will only like to say that let's create, the time we've got or the lessons we've learned. So why shouldn't we actually, but we should create more opportunities, and like everybody is saying, not being an entrepreneur, but to pass it on to the others, create more entrepreneurship. Again, the mindset of entrepreneurship and the mindset of creating opportunities. Every person should think himself like a tree shelters others. So if we learned something from the pandemic, that you pass it on, that God forbid, Allah does not pass us through this test again, that we should go into another situation. So it shouldn't be, the effect shouldn't be felt like this was because it was uncalled for, unprepared for. So, everybody should himself be ready and should create an environment around him or till the place he can pass on the message that it shouldn't happen again. If it happens, people should be comfortable taking the hit, like it happened this time, it was worse. So I think, yes, everybody, we should bestow it on ourselves to, give it back and try to help others as much as we can. And that's the only one, I can think of.
Right. Thank you. And it is so, heartwarming to hear that a lot of people in the corporate world, especially from the IT sector, क्योंकि सर आप लोगों को तो वैसे ही dehumanize कर देते हैं कि जी ये night five ये चल रहे होंगे constantly, so इनकी contributions towards society. But it's so encouraging to see that a lot of our CxO Global members are contributing so heavily and shared such positive thoughts. Ghazanfar Sahab, I would like you to end the session, please, with some enlightening thoughts.
So, one of the things that I would like to share with your audience is that there's a book called Things Like a Rocket Scientist by Ozan Barrel. Go out there, buy that book and read that book. It's certainly going to change your life and help you have that growth mindset. But I would like to finish it off with a quote by Noam Chomsky, who is an American philosopher. He said that if you are teaching today what you were teaching 5 years ago, either the field is dead or you are. So what primarily that means is that, like I said earlier, that change is constant. My father used to say that harkat mein barkat hai, right? And so also be there on the move and start from today, even if you are taking a small baby step and you're thinking about the result, okay, this baby step is not going to do anything. It is going to at least set up a direction for you. So, start early, start now, and go out there and experiment. And there is one other thing that I want to share is that I did a fellowship from Acumen, and they had this thing on adaptive leadership that they said that step into the discomfort. The true learning begins when you step into the discomfort, and that's where the growth mindset actually begins. So, these are my parting thoughts. Thank you.
Absolutely. Such wonderful and apt thoughts. And, one of our earlier members quoted in a previous session that I was doing, and he quoted Elon Musk. And I think this is something so beautiful because one of the things that we all, used to underestimate earlier was learning from our failures. So Elon Musk said that if you're not failing, that means you're not innovating enough. So with that thought, let's all keep innovating and let's stay positive. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. Thank you for watching us, everyone. We will join you again next week with another digital roundtable conference with another enlightening topic. Thank you so much for your time. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you. God bless.